I slammed the door of my pickup so hard the rearview mirror shook, kicking up a cloud of red Georgia clay beneath my boots. Staring at me from across my own driveway was a gleaming steel gate, chained shut with a padlock system that looked like it belonged on a bank vault. This wasn't a military outpost. This was my land, my home. And there, standing like she just claimed the keys to the kingdom, was Eleanor Grayson, president of the Pinewood Estates Homeowners Association. She clutched a clipboard, her smile sharper than the barbed wire glinting in the August 2024 sun. I'd barely been back from a monster truck rally in Tennessee for 10 minutes, and already my blood was boiling. She pointed to a sign bolted to the gate. Private HOA access only. This was the same dirt road I'd paved with my own cash a decade ago, the one leading to my house, my workshop, and most importantly, Titan, my custom-built competition monster truck. Eleanor waved like we were at a church picnic, not a standoff. That's when a hit met his wasn't just another HOA power trip. This was a declaration of war, and Eleanor had picked the wrong guy to mess with. I stood there, dumbfounded, trying to wrap my head around the insanity. While I'd been out crushing cars and signing autographs, the HOA had apparently held a shady vote to block the access road I legally owned. They'd locked me out of my own property. Eleanor had turned the HOA's bloated ego into a personal vendetta. When I demanded answers, she tapped her clipboard and cited some nonsense about violating Section 4, Clause 2 of the HOA rules by keeping an unsightly commercial vehicle in view. She meant Titan, a beast with tires taller than her SUV and a paint job that could stop traffic. I'd built that truck from scratch, every weld and bolt a piece of my soul. Eleanor despised it, claiming it tanked property values and disturbed the serenity of Pinewood. I tried to reason with her, showing her the deed that proved the road was mine, backed by a surveyor's map. She just smirked and threatened to fine me for trespassing if I touched her precious gate. She babbled about a community enhancement project to curb visual blight. I was floored. She had no legal right to touch my road, but she strutted like she was untouchable. And in HOA land, she probably thought she was. I drove to a gas station to get a signal and called the county clerk. They confirmed what I already knew. Eleanor and her HOA cronies had no claim to my road or land. But legal battles take time, and I was stuck, unable to get to my own house. The sheriff's office was no help either. They filed a report, but said it was a civil matter. I checked into a motel in downtown Macon, sat on a lumpy bed, and stared at the ceiling, replaying how this had spiraled so fast. Eleanor had always been a nuisance, nitpicking about my shed's paint color or the dust my driveway kicked up toward her roses. Now she'd escalated to locking me out. A neighbor texted me screenshots of her gloating in the HOA group chat, calling me a grease-stained gearhead who thought his circus truck made him king. She ended with, "Not anymore." The next day, I went back, hoping to find a shred of sanity among the HOA board. No dice. Eleanor was camped out by the gate, sipping iced tea in a lawn chair like she was guarding Fort Knox. When I asked how long this would last, she said, "Until we restore the neighborhood's class." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because the absurdity was choking me. Her minions nodded along, including a guy who'd once fined someone for unapproved mailbox font. I showed them my deed again, but Eleanor waved it off, saying their legal team would handle it. Legal team? Their budget barely covered streetlights. She was bluffing, betting I'd fold. I didn't. I called my old Army buddy, Nathan, now a property lawyer in Atlanta. I sent him photos of the gate, my deed, and Eleanor's signs. He called back, livid. Not only was the gate illegal, but Eleanor had filed fake easement papers with the HOA's logo. This wasn't just a violation, it was fraud. Nathan started drafting a complaint for the county, but warned it could take weeks. I was still locked out. That night, I visited my storage unit and flipped on the light. There stood Titan, massive and unapologetic, her chrome gleaming like a war machine. A grin spread across my face. If Eleanor thought a chain could stop me, she didn't understand horsepower or me. I spent days gathering evidence. Trail cams catching Eleanor's hired goons dumping dirt on my driveway. Timestamp videos of her security guy trespassing. I prepped Titan 2 new shocks, fresh oil, tires checked. If the law was too slow, I need a backup plan, one that screamed ownership. Meanwhile, Eleanor doubled down. A news crew showed up, and there she was in a blazer and pearls, preaching about preserving Pinewood's charm against my monstrous truck. I walked up mid-speech, holding my deed, and told the camera the road was mine, the gate was illegal, and the HOA was out of bounds. The clip went viral. People online roasted Eleanor, sharing their own HOA horror stories. She retaliated with $4,000 in fake fines taped to my motel door, citing aesthetic disruption and parking industrial equipment, Titan. I didn't blink. I printed cease and desist letters and built a wall of evidence in my room. A neighbor, Tim, slipped me a flash drive with security footage of Eleanor's crew dumping fertilizer on my land. One saying, "Ellie wants this green for her HOA brunch." Nathan called it a slam dunk. The county agreed to send an inspector, and they were digging into the HOA's shady finances. Eleanor had mislabeled the gate as emergency infrastructure and used reserve funds without approval. She was unraveling, but still fought dirty, hosting a reclamation picnic by the gate, toasting her victory on my driveway. My drones recorded it all. The showdown came on a sticky Saturday morning, August 24th, 2024. I rolled up in Titan at 7 a.m., cameras rolling, loudspeaker ready. Eleanor had reinforced the gate with steel beams and extra locks, standing beside it with a latte and a hired guard. Vince, who looked like a discount rent-a-cop. I gave him 60 seconds to clear out. Eleanor screamed through a megaphone that I was trespassing. Vince tried to block Titan, but scurried when I revved the engine. The crowd neighbors on lawns, phones outwatched as I eased Titan forward. The gate groaned, then buckled. Locks snapped, beams twisted, and the whole thing crumpled like tinfoil under Titan's tires. I honked once, a thunderous blast. Eleanor stood frozen, her latte slipping from her hand. Vince fled to his car. The crowd erupted, some cheering, some filming. I stepped out, handed Eleanor the legal complaint, and said, "The sheriff's coming. Wait here." I drove Titan home, reclaiming my land. The sheriff and inspector arrived. The inspector, Lila, smirked at the gate's ruins and grilled Eleanor, who stormed off mid-talk. The footage hit the internet, racking up millions of views. A neighbor left a sign on my porch. Eleanor's gate, smashed by Titan, R.I.P. Eleanor vanished for days, her blinds shut, but resurfaced with a plan to plant buffer foliage on my land. I found her survey flags and taped them to her mailbox with a note, "Wrong address." She wasn't done, but her grip was slipping. I hosted a barbecue on my property, fully permitted, with Titan circling the perimeter, a flag reading "Private Property, Public Spirit." Neighbors came, apologized, and cheered as Titan rolled. Eleanor watched from her window, defeated. The county fined the HOA, revoked Eleanor's role, and put her house up for sale. At a town hall, the new president, Sarah, apologized and withdrew all fines. Eleanor moved to a gated community, her reign over. I sat on my driveway with Titan, the stars above, knowing I'd won not just my land, but the neighborhood's freedom. What would you have done, fought legally or driven through? Should HOAs have this much power? Drop your thoughts, like, and subscribe for more wild stories.